Hey, how's it going, boys? This is the final episode of the triple feature. Yeah, let's get right into it. Topic of this one is going to be, what is the point of panic? Why do we panic? It happens to everyone. Everyone panics sometimes. Maybe some bad news is coming. Oh man, I'm panicking. What could this news be? Or maybe something bad did happen. You just saw it happen. Oh my gosh, I'm panicking. What do I do? No one likes to panic, but we all do it. It's something that sometimes is out of our control. We just end up panicking. But I want to talk about, why do we panic? What can we do about it? So for me, I have always been, well, not anymore, but for most of my life, I was quite a hypochondriac. I mean, even growing up, my parents could tell you a million times that I used to just I used to ask to go to the ER about everything. As soon as I knew what the ER was, I was trying to get in there for some reason. I don't know why. And, finally I think it was my junior year, it all culminated into me actually going to the ER because I had a panic attack with violent shaking. And what was this about? Funnily enough, just some hypochondriac stuff. Nothing really happened. That's what that's what the result of going to the ER was. They just said, "Yeah, you're all good. Everything's normal." But I panicked, and there's kind of nothing I could do about it at that point. And let me tell you, that was kind of not not probably the all-time low, but one of the all-time lows of my entire life. That was bad. I was sore all over my body from that panic attack. I didn't go to school for like half the next week. I was in it deep. But then I got into therapy because, I was going through some interesting mental health stuff with some anxiety, which I don't like using that word, honestly, but it's honestly the best descriptor of what was going on. And I went to therapy. And while I was at therapy, what I learned was that, at least for me, to fight panic, I needed to think, how could this situation get worse? And a lot of people, they'll ask themselves that sarcastically. They'll say to themselves, like, there's just no way this could get any worse. Like, how could this get any worse? But I, actually needed to ask myself, how could this get worse? And at the time, my therapist, he was walking me through that. Because I was in a very interesting spot. I ended up in a constant state of fight or flight, and I lost my emotions. I had hives from stress. I just didn't really feel like me, and this started making me kind of spiral in my brain. I was like, am I going insane? Which I don't know, deep down I knew I was fine, but I don't know. I was a little scared. I was like, am I going crazy? Like, am I losing my mind? And so, I told him about these fears I was having, about kind of losing myself a little bit. And so he didn't teach me that, oh, you just need to tell yourself it'll be okay. He taught me to literally dive into the worst case scenario and explore it in my brain. And so he did it for me that first time. He's like, okay, let's go through this. Let's say, things get worse, like way worse. What do you think's gonna happen? And I didn't think I would consider, so I took it a little step below that. I was like, I don't know, I'd probably end up in a psych ward if things got worse or something. He's like, okay, so if you end up in a psych ward, which I used to work in, this is how it would go. And he explained to me, they'd cut off. I wear bracelets. I wear even more at the time. He's like, they'd cut off all your bracelets. They don't want you having those. They see that as a safety hazard to you. You wouldn't be allowed to see anyone, and if you did, it'd be for a very short amount of time. They pump you full of these medications that make you feel even less like yourself. And he went on and on. And this was just terrible to hear. I was like, man, I really do not want this to happen. I really, really don't want this to happen. That sounds awful. And then he told me exactly. I was like, what do you mean exactly? He's like, that's the point. You really, really don't want this to happen. I was like, yeah, I'll keep going. He's like, so is it natural for a human to just let something happen that they really, really don't want to happen? I was like, no, not. I don't really think so. And he was like, well, there you go. You need to use that as your motivation. That worst case scenario needs to be what you're avoiding. You don't want that to happen to you. And of course, I said no. He's like, so don't let it. And again, a common thing in life is easier said than done. And while that sounds easier said than done, it really is that simple. You you can to an extent control your mental health. I mean, I felt like I had lost all control of my mental health, but kind of once I heard that, I started getting my grip back. I started improving like right after that conversation, and it's to the point now where I'm no longer hypochondriac. I don't get scared or stressed about a lot of things. I still get stressed. It's a human response, but not to the extent that I used to, and to the frequency either. And it's been better. And so that kind of brings me to the whole culmination of this episode is when you panic, what should you do? For me, it's just kind of explore the reason you are panicking. You're usually panicking about what could get worse than this. So think about it. What could get worse? Would you want it to get worse? Probably not. So don't let it get worse. It's honestly, sometimes it's that simple. So whenever you're panicking about something, that's obviously not like a emergency or something. Like obviously emergencies are different. But when you're panicking about something that you've got time, it's not immediate, it's not a danger, then just think to yourself, could it get worse? How could it get worse? Do I want it to get worse? No, you don't. So just do everything you can to not let it get worse. But that's going to wrap up that. The song for the episode is going to be 1 a.m. Freestyle by Joji. Love this song. It's a standout track on that album. It always has been to me. And yeah. Yeah. Oh, and then, might as well keep the trend going for the triple feature. Description, email. Send in your topics, anything concerning you, whatever's on your mind, really. I'll see if I can talk about it in the next episode. But that's going to be it. See you, boys.